What's up guys, welcome back to Tech Phantom, and in today's video let's take a deep comparison between the Google Tensor G2, the latest offering from the Google processor, and the another one being the Snapdragon flagship, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. So before continuing this video, this one going to be a long videos, and please hold out to the very end for the long verdict. And if you are new here, then do consider subscribing to our channel Tech Phantom and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update from us. So now for starters, the Tensor G2 is available exclusively to Pixel 7 and the 7 Pro, whereas the 8 Plus Gen 1 is available in all other major smartphone Android brands. Well, now before wasting any further time, let's get started. Now, the very first thing about the launch date, the Tensor G2 is a latest processor as was launched in the October 2022, whereas the Snapdragon was launched in May 2022. Now, moving forward with the CPU architecture, then the 8 Plus Gen 1 comes with the octa-core Cryo 680, whereas the Tensor is not exactly specified what octa-core processor does it uses. But on the core side, it does make it clear and loud and clear, as the 8 Plus Gen 1 comes with a one performance core of the 3 GHz of Cortex-A X2 and 3 cores of performance and 4 chipset of the power saving or the efficiency cores, which we can say for 1.8 GHz. Whereas the Tensor comes with 2 power cores, 2 performance cores and 4 of them being the efficiency cores. Now for performance, it does sound that the Tensor is indeed a bit behind the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which is indeed the case. But the processor fabrication is going to be the similar with both of these processors at 4 nanometers at the power efficiency, the battery consumption, as they both are a 4 nanometer processor. But GPU is processing, and for the better of the gaming enhancement also, the 8 Plus Gen 1 comes with Adreno 730, whereas the Google Tensor comes with Mali G710 MP7 processor for GPU rendering. Now, talking about the machine learning and AI, the Google Tensor simply crushes the 8 Plus Gen 1 as it comes with the Google custom ISP, whereas the Qualcomm comes with the Qualcomm Spectra, and we will be talking more about that later. But the maximum RAM support with the 8 Plus Gen 1, you can get up to 24 gigs of RAM of LPDDR5 and up to 34 MHz of frequency, which is also similar towards the Tensor G2 but maxed out at 12 gigs of RAM. For the maximum display resolution support also, the Google Snapdragon again takes a lead over here with the 4K at 60 FPS, a QHD Plus display at 144 Hz, high refresh rate, HDR10+, HDR10 Dolby Vision and HGLG content support. Whereas the Tensor is very limited to the performance which it can offer, as it is available exclusively for the Pixel 7 and the 7 Pro. But the camera sector also, the Snapdragon as a processor wise again leads from the Tensor 2 at 200 megapixel of a single camera, 64 megapixel of a dual camera and triple camera of 28 megapixel it can support. Whereas the Tensor has simplified things for its smartphones, as it's a 50 megapixel zero shutter lag camera. Now on the maximum video resolutions capability, which they can shoot video is at for 8K at 30 FPS, 4K at 120 and 720p at 960 FPS for the Snapdragon. And the Tensor G2 is again limited to 4K at 60 FPS only. But the connectivity side, the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi side, the Bluetooth is similar in the both of them being the Bluetooth 5.2 latest and offering from the Bluetooth itself now. But the 5G modem is again a bit of a different approach, as the Qualcomm uses Snapdragon X65 and the Tensor uses the processor 5G modem from Samsung. The Wi-Fi is the latest one offering in both of them being the Wi-Fi 6E, and it is an enhanced version of the Wi-Fi 6 present in this processor. On the quick charging side, the Snapdragon can charge up to 150 watts of fast charging support in terms of watt, and it's a quick charge 5, whereas the Tensor is limited to 30 watts itself for its Google smartphones. Now in the closing stages, the Antutu scores simply crushes the Tensor with 10,29,000, whereas the Tensor is up to 8 lakhs of approximate Antutu scores, and whereas the Geekbench scores is again higher on the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 with single core of 1200 and multi-core of 3800. Whereas the Tensor comes with a 1050 of a single core and multi-core of 3200 in the Tensor G2. Well, indeed, by the comparison, the Tensor is being crushed by the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. But one thing to note about the Tensor is that it is the smartest processor which you can buy right now, even smarter than the Apple's A16 Bionic chip. Yeah, that's true. That's the truth about its AI and its software game by the Google, as Google is indeed a Android manufacturer, Android developer, and also it is making its own hardware chipset, so it's making an impact on its smartphones with the Tensor G2 processing, and that's a very positive side. And the Snapdragon indeed has a more raw power when compared to the Tensor, but the smartness, it cannot be overlooked too. So which processor will you consider, which is the better one, the Tensor or the 8 Plus Gen 1 according to you and your needs? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the very next one. Thanks for watching.